My day is awful. I can't tell you how many problems have happened. My light drone like right away. It's like, oh, low tire pressure. My car's bouncing. It's like tires broke. She pulled that up, all screwed up thing. The car shrugged away. So I'm messed on the road. So I had to pull onto a different road. I probably like 2 minutes to get onto this road. I was like super busy. Oh, Jesus. It's just kind of pull up. I'm pretty good. So wait, step that. Find a spare. Find a spare and all that stuff. So bring that stuff. It's like, so take where you like that's down. So you can't
Congratulations for getting the basic level of achievement.
Thanks. Impressive. Do we get a participation award?
Let's get your notes out, please. There is a due date now. I know you guys are super excited. What? The date's right? Wait, what's today?
The 17th. Yeah, the 16th. 20th. It's Friday.
How many? What's the most number of siblings someone has?
5.
Nobody have more than 5? 6? No, stop. Siblings. Just regular siblings. 6? Anybody have more than 6 siblings? Okay. Raise your hand if you have 0 siblings. Nobody in here is an only child? I wish I would. The stupid sister. Nobody? Alright, I'm gonna have 1 sibling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Are you kidding? I'm really not.
I need to start this chart over. It was just a 9, but the boxes are supposed to touch each other, so I was trying to make it wider. I'm gonna have 2 siblings. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 3 siblings. 2. We have 4. Did you raise your hand before? Let's just say 4. Make up a sibling. Now you have 4. 5. 6. Just 1. what a histogram would look like, right? But if I want to do a relative cumulative frequency, it's going to be a little different. I've never seen them ask you to make this, only to interpret it. But like a lot of things, I want to show you how to make it because I think that'll help you interpret it, just to like see where it comes from. So if I wanted to make, oh wait a minute, because people are still writing this down. That's fine. I don't want to go before people are ready. Alright, so if I want to make a relative cumulative frequency, it's different. What that means is, like when I get to 1, it's not how many people had one sibling, it's how many people had 1 or less, which in this case would be the exact same. When I get to 2, it's not just how many people had exactly 2, it's 2 or less. So for the cumulative frequency graph, you're taking that number and everything below. So for 0, it would still be how many people have 0 siblings or less. So just put a dot there. How many people have 1 sibling or less? 9. How many people have 2 siblings or less? 13. So it's like you're almost taking this box and like stacking it on top. And so there'd be 13 up here. 0, 9, this is 13. How many people had 3 or less? 15. How many people had 4 or less? 17. 5 or less? Still 17, right? So that's actually a pretty common question I'll ask you, is when the relative cumulative frequency graph stays flat, what does that mean? It means there was no data there. Like there was nobody that had exactly 5 siblings. And then 6 or less would be 18. And then if we connected these, that's what a relative cumulative frequency graph looks like. So let's just make it a real quick one. And then these are professionally made. So it's not that neat. What? Yeah. Now we're going to do more of that, like worksheet, that kind of thing. Let's start on the Old Faithful side, please. There's Old Faithful and then there's like the Age of Presidents. Old Faithful side. Everybody good? With me? So on a, we didn't do this because I was just trying to kind of give you the idea, but on a real one, what's on the left-hand side is the percentages. So I'm going to start with the bottom question, actually. What does the circle point tell us? So this circle point right here is supposed to be kind of above the 2 and at about 20%. That doesn't mean 20% of the eruptions lasted 2 minutes. It means 20% of the eruptions lasted 2 minutes or less. So this is like accumulating data as we go. So when we get to the ends, it's got to be at 1 every single time. 100% of the data has to be, you have to have it all by the time it gets to the end. So that bottom one means 20% of the eruptions, and you're making sure to put the context of the question in there. So of the eruptions lasted 2 minutes or less. There's a bunch of other stuff I can find down here too. So I can find the median Q1 and Q3. The median, what percent of the data is below the median? 50%. What percent is below Q1? 45. What percent is below Q3? 75. We can find all those. So estimate the median. I'm going to find 50%. Try to read across as best I can. And I would say that's 4. I mean, you're estimating. So if you put something close to 4, I can't really mark it wrong. I think my estimate's pretty bad, actually. Should be a little higher. Probably here. You guys see what I'm doing, though? I'm starting to realize this might not really be a back corner issue as much as a semi issue. So we could move semi out of the back corner. Or you could just not talk so much. Q1 is what percent? 25. So, 30 to be right in the middle there. 25 is just a little bit above the 20 we just did. If you're estimating that, I don't know, 2.2, 2.1, 2.3, somewhere around there. It doesn't have to be precise. You are estimating. But do you understand what I'm doing, like where I'm getting the numbers from? Q3, 75%, so you're going up like near the 80. Going across. Down. That's it. That's like 4.4, 4.5. And then your IQR. I'm just, how do I find IQR from my two numbers here? You just subtract, right? So mine will be 4.4 minus 2.2, which is 2.2. Percentiles. So this gets into, like, this is a huge topic in the whole class. This is the first time you've seen it. Percentile is the percent that are at or below you. So some people say this backwards and screwed up. They'll be like, I was in the first percentile. Like, I was so good, I did so great on my SAT, I was in the first percentile. Well, that means you were better than 1% of the people. So that's not probably what you're trying to say. If you're doing like really, really well on SAT, you're probably like the 95th percentile, the 90th percentile, 98th percentile. That means you are better than 98% of the people, or 90% of the people, or whatever. The median would be what percentile? 50th percentile, because you're above 50% of the people. Q1 would be what percentile? 25th. Q3 would be 75th. So the percentile is the percent at or below you. So you do this just like you were doing the IQR, or the Q1 and Q3, it's just different numbers. So the 80th percentile, you're going to point 8, going across. I think that's probably supposed to be that circle point there. That'd be like 4.5-ish. Again, it's not the specific number I care about. Does that make sense what I'm doing? Yeah. Always. Yep. So 15th percentile, I'm going a little bit below that 0.2 and down, so this would be 0. That's a good question. Yeah. I think this is probably like 1.5. Is that fair? Yeah, they like shifted it. 40th percentile, so now we're going with this dot here. 0.4, I think that goes to that dot, which is like 3.5 ish. And then the next section is just go backwards. So I give you a time and you tell me the percentile. So instead of reading from the side and then down, you're just reading from the bottom and then to the side. So 2.5. Go up till you hit the line. I'm going to say that's like 35th percentile-ish. Do you agree that we're in that range? 4. We already did 4, didn't we? 4 is the median, so what percentile is the median? 50th percent. 5. By the time we get to 5, we got basically all the data. So, yeah, that's like 100%. Questions on that at all? Where'd you get this from? What are you doing here? But remember their estimates. So like when I put out my answers, as long as you're pretty close, you're good. Or when you're comparing answers, as long as you're pretty close, you're good. Let me know what that got those packets that I gave you guys that we've been working on for a few days. That's what I got for like the first set there, first couple sets. As long as you're within a couple, I'd say you're good. It is an estimate, but like if I had 50 and you have 80, you'd be like, oh, it's an estimate. You said it was fine. I didn't give you that yet. There's the bottom part. Make sure this bottom one you put something about the context. We're not going Questions on this? You guys get about what I'm getting? Close enough. Make sure you put context on this bottom one. You're always like referring back to, hey, what's the question about? Questions here? I read this weekend. You know, I said like you're supposed to wait 7 seconds. Instead of saying like, are there any questions, I'm supposed to say like, give me 2 questions. Yeah, that kind of throws a wrench in it. What if I'm just so freaking awesome at explaining things that there couldn't possibly be questions? That seems, you know. Alright. This is a little tougher. One of those is skewed left, one of those is skewed right, and one of those is approximately normal. So you can figure out which one. Figure out which one's which. This is tougher. I think the approximately normal one is probably the most obvious. And then you guys all came to the same thing already?
Yeah.
What's okay? What'd you come to?
He said right is right, and then middle is practically normal, and then left is left.
You think I'm making that obvious? Do you think I switched them?
No.
So I think this is approximately normal, right?
Yeah.
I think that's pretty easily. And so just, I mean, if you think through, okay, if I start labeling like that's maybe 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, it's approximately normal because the distance down here, this would be like your median, your Q1 and your Q3, and aren't those, like the distance between the median and Q1 and the distance between the median and Q3 are about the same, right? Approximately normal makes total sense. So let's look at this one. If 25 is there, 50 would be about there, 75, 100. So if I just go by the Q1 and Q3, it might be a little harder to tell. You might be able to tell. I guess you can kind of tell. So that's your Q1, that's your Q3, and that's your median. But it'd be even more exaggerated. Instead of like 25 and 75, let's say it's like 10 and 90. 10 would be over here. And 90 is still pretty close to the median, right? So the data is spread out which way? To the left or to the right? It's spread out to the left, isn't it? So this would be like a box plot that was like this. So this one is skewed left. And then like the same idea over here. Let's say I just go like 10, 50, 90. I don't look at the quartiles, I just jump to like the big numbers. 10 and the median, like that's really tightly packed together there. But then 90, there's a bigger gap there. So that kind of sets up like one of these box plots where you're more spread out to the right. And that would be skewed right. That's a tougher question. How many had that? Like how many had them on right? Okay. That makes sense though?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Alright, get your packet out. Yay. 2006B, problem 1. Do this one. Please. It's toward the back. It's one of the last ones. This is the last one?
It was the last one I looked at, so it's already flipped to the last one.
It's one of the ones that you have. 06B, problem 1. Ready to go. 15 minutes for this question on average. I think this is one where I think you can probably do this in like 5. You know, where you're doing, and then you're saving, you can bank those 10 minutes and apply it somewhere else where you might need them. I don't think this one would take 15. How many would like more time? We get it, right? Okay. So part A, make sure that you had something about the context in there. So 40% of agents had monthly sales volume at or below 400,000. It doesn't have to be like exactly that, but it should have been. Oh yeah. I was like so worried about the context of that, but all right, thanks. What proportion is she between 700,000 and 800,000? So you're kind of reading across there, and the difference here is 10%. You're there? Who said no? Like, do you know what?
I put 78. I didn't know you had like. I don't know.
Gotcha. 10 makes sense now, though. Okay. So, see, this is what I told you about that flat thing, like when nobody had 5 siblings. This is flat because nobody sold that amount. So you could put $1,100,000 if you wanted. Like nobody sold 1,100,000, but that's 1.1 million. Or you could probably put 11 and be fine because that's the way they labeled their graph. And that means nobody sold that amount. So you didn't like add anything on, so your graph didn't increase; it just stayed flat. And then the bottom one, if I'm giving the top 20% a bonus. So that would be this top 20% up here. So everything above 80%. And if I read across, your cutoff here would be 800,000. So 800,000 or higher would get a bonus there. Questions on that? Give me 2 questions on that. D. Top 20% are going to get a bonus. So I want to pick the best 20%. So like the highest 20%. So the highest 20% are in the 80th to 100th percentile because they're better than, like if you're in the 80th percentile, you're better than 80% of the people. So I want this group up here. And then I just read across, and the cutoff would be 800,000. So all of these people would translate into that top 20%. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Second question for you.
Yeah.
If you read $1,000 instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars, would they mark you wrong for A, C, and D?
No. I'm not sure they'd mark you wrong at all. If they did, it would just be like a general.
Okay.
Like
they
one.
put like $3,000 and $11,000 and $8,000.
So at worst, you would get 3 out of 4. I'm not even sure. Okay. Let's do 98, number 2. So this is not the same stuff we just did. We're just getting through more of this back and reviewing more. There's going to be a test either Thursday or Friday. I'll give you more information, obviously, before that. We're going to say Thursday. And if I decide to push it back, I'll push it back. But I'd rather say Thursday and push it back than say Friday and move it up. So we're going with test Thursday. Histogram is the one with like the bars.
The bars.
Yeah. You should know that before Thursday.
Yeah.
Remember, these frappies typically appear on the test in some form. Sometimes I just straight up give you the exact same one. Sometimes I alter through a little bit. We're done with the material for the test pretty much. I do want to take some time to do like some actual AP questions, like multiple choice AP questions, and like a practice test review type thing. So you know what to expect. So we'll do that tomorrow on Wednesday. And yeah, your test is gonna be Thursday for sure. So that means there's summer work to do Thursday. It's not done yet. You would not be eligible for a retake unless the summer work is all done that Thursday. What do people's summer work is all done? If you never asked me for a retake, I'm never gonna look at your summer work. If you want to play that way, we'll play that way. Yeah. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. Like, if there's like 2 or 3 sections you're stuck on, I can say how many times you tried it. So there's some people that are like, I got 100% on, how many sections are there? Like 60?
56, I think.
So they got 100% on like 50 of the sections. And they got like 6 or 7, they got 50% or 75%, but I can see they tried it like 10 times. I'm okay with that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, or some of them I've done it like 15 times.
Really?
I never get 100.
So if I can tell you put in effort and you didn't quite get to 100% on that section, I mean, I'm going to be reasonable about it, but if there's 20 of them you just never attempted or you tried once, like that's a different story.
You can actually see.
Yeah. I can see everything. I can like see into your house when you're out there. I know your social security number.
Don't say that. Stop.
Nobody remembered that.
You're in 692 and then 70. There's some numbers in the middle. Keep working, please.
Expectations level.
I'm the same way.
I don't want to hear about it.
Because I'm like, I know how to do this. And so, like, want to do it.
Yeah, that's what
If it's like a new problem that I'm challenged by, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I want to
yeah,
know.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's me. It's like, I know how to do this, it just takes a while. I don't want to.
You gotta play the game, though.
And if I do all the summer work, I don't learn anything because, you know,
Oh, because you already know it.
teach me everything.
And you remember.
Oh, yeah. So I want to learn from you. That's the real reason why I didn't do my summer work.
Thank you. I'm flattered.
You should be.
Are we good? You guys are all set? Alright, quiet please. So, histogram, remember a couple things. You need a label on the bottom. You need frequency here. And then you need like an overall title. And so it's almost like you're turning this sideways. So there was one defective item twice. There was two defective items 4 times. Wait, so what did you guys do then?
We did the number and a hang number. Yeah, that's what I like. And the number of check.
So you did a histogram that showed the frequency of the day number? Kind of?
So like that top point, we turn that as like 5. So for 0 to 5 is 5, 10. We have 18. Well, plus, yeah, for days 0 through 5, there's a total of 22 factors. And days 6 to 10.
Oh. Okay, I gotcha. Do you see why we're doing it this way?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the rest of the question makes much more sense now, too. Okay.
Yeah, because it's the same exact thing.
Because you basically just made that exact thing, right? It just like was drawn differently, kind of. Yeah. Okay. How many did this? Like, did what they? Okay. I mean, I understand. I can see why you would do that.
I actually started off doing it their way and then I erased it.
Okay. So then, like, let's just go through parts B and D. Just looking at my graph. From the histogram, like if I'm looking at this scatter plot, this shape is not obvious, right? But if I'm looking at this, now I can tell, like the distribution of defective items was approximately normal. Like there, 8 is obviously the middle, we got 4 a little less and 2 a little less, and we can tell that shape, but we couldn't tell that from the scatter plot. The part C is backwards. What can we tell from the scatter plot that I can't tell from this? And there's like this downward trend, right? So like as the days went on, they got a little better at doing this. There were less defective items as time passed. In general, like not every time, but and you can't tell that from this history. All right. Make more sense now that we're doing that. Okay, questions on this one then? All right, go back to this is one that I wrote. Quiz 1.2C. It's not a free response, but it's got like there's some good questions in here. A couple things I need to point out. So, what is the rate? We'll just do the first couple together. What is the range of the data? 30. So 5-number summary, I don't know that we've talked about this. 5-number summary is min, Q1, median, Q3, max. So that's your 5-number summary. Giving me like the very end points, and then everything in the box. So the Q1 and the Q3 on the sides of the box, and the median in the middle of the box. So that's the 5-number summary. All 5 numbers. So I would just go, okay, that means the min is 16, Q1 is 20, the median is 22, Q3 is 30, max is 46. And then we get this like, well, are 1 and 2 okay then? So number 3 says how many observations are strictly less than 22. That means that you know they have to be less than 22. So it's not less than or equal to. Like how many observations do you absolutely know for a fact have to be less than 22? And what they're getting at there is the numbers between Q1 and the median. Is it possible those are all 22s? It is. So how many numbers do you absolutely know for sure are lower than 22? And these are hard, so I want you to take some time and do the rest of this, work on this, and then whatever you don't finish the homework, we'll check it over tomorrow. So go through and try these. 33 numbers in your data set, right? So there's not 5 numbers in the data set. There's 33 numbers in the data set. Okay.
So the minimum amount that can be less than 22 or less than 20?
The maximum. Minimum. Yes, minimum. What'd you get for it? 1. Do you know there's 33 numbers in the data set?
Couldn't we just have one outlier that's way...
Isn't there 20? No, it's not like there's got to be at least 2.
Oh, sorry, I was doing number 5. Number 3 is 2.
Number 5 is 1.
Yeah.
Number 3 is not 2.
Less than 22. Why couldn't it?
Because what about all the numbers between 20 and 16? Aren't those also less than 22?
Oh, so 25%. Is that the idea? 25% of them would be?
Ish. That's never exact. Just 33 numbers. So you can't do 25%. It's like 8.25.
So you have this.
You gotta like start slicing it into parts. So if there's 33 points, where would the median be? 33 plus 1 is 34 divided by 2, so wouldn't the 17th point be the median? And then wouldn't that leave 16 points below that and 16 points above that? And then if you chop those in half, wouldn't there be like 8 in Q1, 8 in Q2? So that's what you want to start thinking about. Just kind of splitting it into parts and like, okay, there's this many numbers here, this many numbers here, and think about it that way. I'm not giving